So once you know the way, you got to just systematically keep explaining it to the people until it click. The more people we click with, the faster it moves.
Mm.
And so right now we following the oral tradition and we marching down the campaign of reclamation, right, and redemption. And I'm the family redeemer of the most families right now.
Mm. Mm.
And as the family redeemer, I'm telling y'all where all of the traps at. That paperwork a trap,
Mm.
that African slave narrative a trap.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell a foundational Black American, I don't know what that is.
That's a bunch of crap.
But I can tell you this, those organic, original, earth-born to the land, the earth know you belong here.
Mm. Mm.
And the prime creator know you belong here, and everybody else got to move out our way. All we got to do is be willing to stand up and be who we are.
Mm. Mm.
And that's why Elijah Muhammad kept screaming, be on it, be yourself and accept your own, because when you realize what's going on, you can do something about it. But as long as you're in darkness, you can't find the light. Bumping your head on the dresser, trying to find the switch.
Family, we have 2,005 people in the chat. Hit the like button. Send Chief Pontiac some love. Send him a Cash App blessing, please, to $SIKAPE. Chief, somebody wants to know, who's this Statue of Liberty? Is the Statue of Liberty Lucifer, the light bearer?
It's straight off the painting from Europe of Lucifer. It's the exact painting with the dress on.
What?
Yeah, all you gotta do, you can go to, anybody can go right now because there's people that did videos on it.
Okay.
Once I said it, I started seeing videos pop up all over the place where they was talking about it. But if you go to TikTok and you type in Statue of Liberty of Lucifer, you will see the imagery. They'll show you all the imagery.
Mm.
And give you the descriptive analysis and the particulars, like the chain on the ankle, the torch.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. Now remember, the Statue of Liberty was designed by the same person that designed the Eiffel Tower. And the Eiffel Tower was signed to commemorate the signing of the Paris Accord, commonly known as the Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
What? Okay. Say that one more time.
The Eiffel Tower was erected as the commemoration of the Paris Accord, commonly known as the Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Wow.
It wasn't what the Moors told us it was. The agreement was a ceasefire agreement between two different royal classes or companies that was transporting goods across the Atlantic to Europe, and they was robbing each other and fighting each other on the high seas. So they had to come to an agreement, and they signed the Paris Accord to stop them from fighting each other so that they can unify and join forces to take everything from us.
Wow. The red flag with the green 5-pointed star.
That's Noble Drew Ali made that flag. That's not the original Moroccan flag, because Morocco is not older than the Moorish Temple of America.
Then why is it flying? Why was it flying in the White House?
Because they used the flag as an identifier of the clan of Els as they took over, because they had Noble Drew Ali murdered and signed a contract with the corporation. That's why the new nationality card said the holder of this card is a U.S. citizen. It didn't say that under Noble Drew Ali.
Okay.
But the person that instituted that went behind Noble Drew Ali back. He used to be able to send a grand sheik into any court to get you out because they didn't have a superior jurisdiction. So he had to get rid of Noble Drew Ali because he was a problem to the construct of the corporation masquerading as our government. He knew the truth.
Okay.
And so he left us enough codes that if we follow the codes he left, he tell us the same thing as Garvey and Elijah. He just tell it to us in a different way.
Okay.
Right? So when we're looking at his material, how are we looking at it?
Mm.
We looking at it from a dogmatic perspective. Oh, that sounds real slick. I'm gonna say that because the old girl gonna think that's some cute stuff to say, and she gonna be all in. Ain't got nothing to do with finding out what he talking about.
Mm.
Why did he put religious controversy in there?
Mm.
And you see all these fools running around swearing they got the best religion, and all of them dogmatic um, control measures.
Mm.
With nobody on this land calling themselves Christian, Hebrew, Jew, Israeli, or none of that before 1492. And all of a sudden, we are the people in that book. So
Mm.
they didn't got us a fictitious book for our identity crisis to attach to somebody that we like in that book.
Mm.
I'm the spook by the door, Sam Greenlee. Since we want to identify with characters in fictional writings,
Mm.
I'm King Kong. Since we want to be fictional characters, I'm gonna be one worth being.
Right. Right.
Be nobody, but it's still the blueprint hell. That's why all of our town mothers used to be the mayors. When they met, it's called a Congress of Mayors. They still use the terms in reference to Mustangs out west when the females come together to prepare for the birthing season before the males come. They call it a Congress of Mayors, right? And then comes the stallions. When the stallions come, they fight. I want this flock, this Congress right here. Another use for the word Congress is sex, right? So they using our natural systems to rape us without our knowledge. They roofing us with false information. The town mother is the mayor, and the town mother is not selected by a vote. She's selected by birthright and recognition of the tribes in the town, right? And that's how we selected our mayors. The elections is the only control we have of politics is in local elections. That's election in the aldermen, city councilmen, depending on where you at. I forgot what they call them in the parishes, but they are all elected. Local government is the only actual true government on the land. Federal government is a fallacy. It's a fallacy, and it's based upon a corporate interim system occupying or pretending, masquerading de facto in law as the legitimate government agency, the dominant government agency, but they interim. That means they got a lifespan of how long they allowed to be here. You on mute?
Hold on, brother. What I want to get to right now is that I wanna start talking about some other stuff because I've been hearing you talk about the aliens and stuff like that. Right?
Which is one of my most. I hate talking about aliens and outer space, but I had to talk about it because
Yeah.
they here.
Well, there you go. And this is what I want to talk about. Um, what do aliens look like, and what is the evidence that you have that say aliens have visited Earth? And have you ever seen or experienced a UFO sighting?
Okay, now let's break the question into parts because that's three questions in one.
Yes, go into it.
So, what was the first part?
The first part was, what do aliens look like? And the second part is, have do you have any evidence of aliens visiting Earth? Let's deal with them too.
Okay, aliens have varying different looks. Um, the only proof is that it's a ship sitting right outside of Earth right now that the Pentagon is watching, that they've been reporting on since March. They said they're sending out lesser ships to do reconnaissance, and that there's nothing that they can do about it. That's the first piece of evidence. You can look it up, right? The as far as how they look, they have a varying different look depending on where they from. Because the code for the human is not the code for every sentient being. The only similarities most of us have that makes them anthropomorphize is the head, two arms, two legs. Where you do got some that got 4 and 6 arms, and you do have some with 4 and 6 legs. But that's the exception to the rule. The general rule is for the sentient being, normally they come in with 2 arms and 2 legs and a head and a torso. So the general description in of an alien is anthropomorphized, but a lot of them look like me and you. Like we could be sitting here talking to one of them, and if he adapted to the language where he don't have an accent, you would never know he an alien. You would just think he's just another brother, right? They made a TV show, a movie about a brother from outer space. You remember that? The brother from outer space, because they wanted us to
Right, I
know
remember
that
that.
there is a sizable portion of them that's heavily melanated. Some of them melanin is so dark that it absorbs 10 times more light than the average person, and that's because of the deep space um, effect that it's having on them. And some of the suns set out so much radiation in the biological counter of most organisms to protect itself from massive amounts of radiation is to produce massive amounts of melanin as the response.
Have you yourself ever experienced the alien?
Yeah, but they normally talk to me telepathically and tell me they're there. I only seen a couple of beings that I know were aliens, and they was telepathically talking to me. One caught me in Walmart, gave me a book reference when I first came home. And then there was another one that I encountered at a mall where I was walking down the mall, and he was telepathically telling me, almost to me, you almost to me. And when I looked up, he said, oh, you found me. Right. So they don't look, those ones didn't look different than regular people, but they was from different places. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
tell people that stuff because I don't like to talk about space stuff because we have too many earth problems that we trying to escape from solving. We don't want to solve the problems where we at. We want to go somewhere else and take them problems with us and make that place as effed up as this place. But if we solve the problems where we at, we ain't got to worry about nobody from nowhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you spiritually protect it, by solving your problems. Because if you solving your problems, the energy field around you, Source is saying, don't mess with this one. He's doing his work. You always hear about that in the hood, putting in work, right?
Yeah.
Some of us work don't look pretty, but it's
Right.
necessary for the effect that it's going to cause. So when we do certain stuff, it may not fit within the parameters of accepted norms. And we might even end up locked up for following our purpose and our path. And sometimes we just end up isolating ourselves because it's difficult to explain to undeveloped spiritual minds a developed spiritual concept.
Mm-hmm. What is your view on the government stance regarding UFO sightings?
The government is 100% aware of what it is and who they is. They communicate with them. Dr. Strange wrote a book about when Eisenhower was visited by the Venusians, right? And that's when, back in the 40s, and they after World War II, and they dropped the bomb because that's what caused us to be put in what's called a light lock, like it's a covenant. It's to lock us into the simulation spiritually, but that's also to keep us from spreading like disease beyond our realm, all of the dirt dealing that the people been taught to do. None of it is normal. Even if we accept it as normal, it's still not normal to us as a species. It's been given to us by outsiders. And that's one of the easiest ways to heal yourself is to find the foreign nature of the characteristic you exhibiting so you know that it's not who you are. That's how you kill your ego.
Is the
Purification of the
government
ego in the
telling us the
occult.
truth? Is the government being
Hell
honest with
no.
us?
The government is never going to tell us the whole truth. They give us half truths, but more than anything, they talk in what's called double speak, coded talk. Like Donald J. Trump know exactly what an AK-47 is. Went on the news and he said I became a gun expert when they told me about the MK-47. That's a code. It's not a misspeak, double speak, right? And the code crackers are other heads of state has a code cracker. I'm the code cracker for Empress Rearburg, right?
Hmm.
She is the blood right descendant matriarch to call for to sit on the sacerdotal seat. And so when she went to Philadelphia, sat on the sacerdotal seat, she took back the tribal right to political and social systems. So now what we about to see is the shift. But we first had to get to the part where because I have to give her reporting. That's going to be live because I have to do it where all of the tribes across the land have equal access to the information. Whether they believe it or don't believe it is they're inconsequential to the fact that they had access to it by public notice. So the report that I got to give her is on the state of the war and with receipts.
Let me ask you this: these aliens that you have seen, that you have come in contact with, do they have any special powers? Should we be afraid of these aliens? What? Talk to me.
Look, you ever hear the story about the angels and then they fall on their face in fear in the presence of the angel? You don't
Mm-hmm.
gotta fear them unless you dirty,
Mm-hmm.
right? Unless you doing secret shit to hurt people behind the eyes of the unwitting public. You concealing your dirt and you doing nefarious things, knowing exactly what you're doing. The frequency is what's gonna tell you that you the one. Because when you're doing certain stuff, it shows in your frequency. They call it biorhythms. If you look up biorhythms, then what you do alters your biorhythm. If your natural biorhythm is to be in the heart chakra space, pure love energy, but you operating from the root chakra, you've been inverted. Once you've inverted, it alters your frequency. You don't look the same energetically. Like if you take Kirlian photography, you won't have what's called a pure color. It would be specks of darkness in your color. They can see it with their eyes because they see a larger light spectrum than our 0.1%. They seeing like 40% light spectrum. So they seeing you so deep you can't hide your secrets. And they telepathic. So now they listening to you lying to yourself, trying to convince yourself you a good person while you running around doing all this dirt. And now you trying to convince publicly everybody that you a good person. Instead of stop doing the dirt and be yourself, it'll come out whether you a good person or not. Right? And then they gotta always send in somebody to undermine
Mm-hmm. What technological advancements do you believe were inspired by aliens encounter? By aliens encounter.
you. Fiber optics was developed off the reverse engineering in Area 51 in the Roswell crash. This is already recorded and exposed, and it's already available under the Freedom of Information Act to be reviewed. Um, the cell phone is ancient. Most of the technology is ancient anyway. Atlanteans had all of the stuff that we consider modern technology, plus some you haven't seen yet. They were the pyramid builders of the Great Pyramid.
The aliens?
No, the
Oh,
Atlanteans.
oh, okay. Wow, okay.
The Atlanteans also were space travelers. Well, we call them skywalkers. We didn't call them space travelers. The ancient term translates into modern English as skywalkers. So we call them skywalkers. That means that they travel through beyond the realm of the earth. They got blocked out. They couldn't get back in because had to fight this spiritual warfare. Now the barrier is being removed, and the skies are going to look entirely different. That's why they soft selling you all these extra moons and stuff, and then you seeing the soft sell drip in social media. People posting two suns in the sky, two moons in the sky. Right? It was a time when that moon wasn't there, and that moon is subject to take off and leave if shit get thick somewhere and they need it. It's a battleship.
If the aliens encounter us during the pyramid age and then continue, then why aren't we developed?
We crashed civilization. Civilization was crashed on purpose. The last war,
When you say we crashed civilization, what do you mean?
I'm about to tell you.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you go to the sutras, the Vimana sutras, and it tell you about the Vimanas wars. Well, the last war was a nuclear holocaust. Created the last ice age. It was at that point that civilization was wiped out because the disaster of war. That's called a crashed civilization. It grew to the point where it imploded because somebody couldn't get right. They couldn't bump straight. So the war break out. The war is known also in the Sumer as the Anunnaki Wars. The war against the sibling rivalry of Enki and Enlil. This matriculates into your biblical information where they telling you about the fight that Enlil is having with Enki. They're calling Enki Satan in the Bible. They calling Enlil Yahweh in the Bible, and they calling Inanna Lucifer in the Bible. Right? The bright and morning star references the star called Venus. On the heels of Venus is the seventh sun, which is called Mercury, but not sun S-U-N, seventh sun S-O-N, but it's in reference to Venus birthing a son off the sun, right? Because between Venus and the sun is Mercury on the horizon. Mercury is always on the heels of Venus, and this is the baby that holds his mother's skirt as she follows her around. And then comes the Great Father, represented by the solar orb as Anu, Ani, Ra, the exalted one, Eliun, Eliun, El, right? Who shines his light to be a light among men, which is his light of the knowledge, the divine spark. And the one who receives the divine spark is the heir to the throne, or we would call him in Kemetic terms, he's Heru, the son that's aspiring to reclaim his father's throne, Usir, Osiris, the great Osirian. Orion star constellation, represented in the zodiac, I mean in the Bible, as heaven, right? Because the Greek word for heaven is Orionos. And Orionos is in reference to the star constellation Orion, right? So the son, who's mama's boy, because he's always following mama around, but he is the perfect reflection of the father, because even though he's following mama around, Papa's light shine greatly up on this son. S-O-N. So now the son learns how to become a man by examining the masculine qualities of the father. And the training from the mother teaches him how to tend to the needs of his future wife that she's going to pick. The fool's journey, tarot deck, becomes the hero's journey up on the self-discovery, because he thought he was a fool and everybody else did too. But he went about his journey down the yellow brick road in search of the Wizard of Oz. The wizard is the wise one, Merlin the magician. Oz is the strong one, because Oz means strength. The strong one in the Bible is known as Chemosh. Chemosh is the god of the Moabites. The Moabites are kindred to both the Ishmaelites and the Israelites, right? Because who was Moab? Moab was Lot's son.
Mm.
And Lot was Abraham's nephew, right? So they telling you your historical data and they scramble it up. So subconsciously, you don't know it's scrambled up. Consciously, you following the narrative they gave you, but subconsciously is accepted because the subconscious mind don't know the conscious mind, don't understand what it's studying. But you studying Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth mean basic instructions before leveling up. Because once you level up, the Bible becomes obsolete when you realize it's a star map and a blueprint for the son to rise and become the redeemer of the Father. So John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. But what do you mean he gave his only begotten son? Because he didn't give him up to be crucified on a literal cross. But because you take the story literally, you never understand the deeper meaning, but your soul know that the story was telling you the holy drama straight out of the walls of Kemet, and that the Jesus is two people in the Bible. They telling you the story of the mother, Isis, as Jesus, and her son, Emmanuel, as God with us. And they mix them up because you're not going to know the difference when they put both of their words in red, because you don't know forensic profiling to separate two different people talking by character.
What if I was to say to you, Brother Rod, that Jesus is God? God rebirthed itself coming through the womb of woman to be physical being on the planet. Because before that, he's spirit. You can't see the spirit. But in order to be seen, he reborn himself coming through the flesh. What if I was to say that? What would you say, man?
Nothing.
Not. Would you?
No, I
I
wouldn't
mean,
even respond
is
to
it
that.
crazy? What is
No,
it crazy?
it just
Oh,
tells me what it tells. All you telling me is your perception of how you perceive this ancient holy drama.
right,
But
right.
because you don't know the original, you just took a cheap copy.
Oh, okay, okay. So I want to
So I wouldn't
let
answer it.
me let me get into this right quick. How do you differentiate between real magic and mere illusion. So now we're going to get into sorcery, and let's talk about some magic here.
The magic sciences do different things. The most potent and powerful of the magics was called blood magic, right? It's the what they call dashing the blood upon the altar, right? Talks about it in the Bible. The blood sacrifice, it every time you kill something, it has an effect somewhere in the living. And if you use the blood to seal the contract, you're talking about life force energy is sealing the contract. The contract's duration fades over time. So the blood and the blood magic ritual tells you that in the beginning, at its height of potency, the magic is very strong. As it wanes, it becomes faded as ink, and its potency also is fading to match the duration of the contract. Because you have to have an exit strategy to all contracts. And the contracts that they making is between the blood that's being spilled being sold to the loose beings. The loose beings can take physical form or they don't have to. They can use another agency of influence in the physical world to bring about the effect that your blood sacrifice requires. Then you have the second most powerful magic is sex magic, because spirit energy and sex energy are twins. They Gemini twins, though. The spirit energy is descending, is feminine from source. The sex energy is coming from the root chakra, right? It's red, it's pure lust. It's rising up. And as the two rise, they balance each other out into what's a pink energy. The pink energy becomes the manner of life, right? And the energy is represented by a balancing of spiritual self and sexual self. And the disciplinary training tool is called fasting, because you raising your energy and you are using your output energy internally in order to allow your spiritual energy to expand from the inside out, as opposed to only being coming from the outside. So you becoming one with your higher self through the process of sex or abstinence from sex. You can use both. A man and a woman who are in agreement and in balance with each other can manifest their best life together as heaven on earth, but there's going to be required a physical action behind the effort to bring it into being. And this is why they say faith without works is dead. You have to do your due diligence to meet the energy requirements to activate the unified energy.